Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwam, Watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday Night Fire, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh, Bashima Mashiach Malak Yabushai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Hamashiach Malak Yabushai. The hardy, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. And shalom to all of the Akwath out there, the sincere sisters out there, married and unmarried, moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers and keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the children, the ancient men, and everybody tuning in live from Egypt to Israel, Don Israel, Tribe of Judah, Nigel Blends, Jake for Life 45, Princess to a King, Michelle Y, Princess Isabella, Antoine Ford, Sweet Styles, ISY, Shalom King, No Name, Shawar by War, SOT, Shabbat Slaki, Shabbat Shalom King, Sean Don, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. New Year 2024 rebuke, or so-called New Year, as we all know, 2024 rebuke, current events, hard questions, and more through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Abashas. We want to touch on this so-called New Year, right? We understand that the New Year begins in the springtime, right? So-called late March, early April, and that the so-called white man has committed mass sorcery and witchcraft on the earth, man, and that's convinced the minds of the people that a time of dead plants, dead trees, slumbering animals, no growth of vegetation, that this is the time of the new year, man. So we want to rebuke that, go into the times and the seasons, and go into some current events because there's a lot going on the earth, and we want to constantly keep watch through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushua. So let's kick it off first and foremost. Let's go to the book of Revelation. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 18, and I want to go to verse 23. Right? This is Revelation chapter. Actually, I'm going to start at 21. Revelation chapter 18 and 21. It reads, "And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down and shall be found no more at all." Right? How is Babylon the Great going to fall? And why is Babylon the Great going to fall? Who is Babylon the Great? America. America is Babylon the Great, the land of confusion. And the Most High said through violence, through missiles, through the chariots, through insurrections, through uprising, through potential civil war, right? Through economic collapse. That's the violence that the Most High is going to use to throw this place down, right? Verse 22. "And the voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee." A millstone is how you produce any what you use to produce food, what you use to produce and feed an economy. So the millstone is symbolic for the so-called white man's economic infrastructure. That's what the millstone is a representation of. His working force. You understand? His factories, his manufacturing facilities, his fulfillment plants, right? All of these is an amalgamation of his millstone. So his harpers, his musicians, his rappers, his sports entertainment industry, his music entertainment industry, all of his factories, all of his ships, his imports, his exports, no craftsmen, no electricians, plumbers, engineers. Nobody's going to be able to build up what Yahweh Shah is going to throw down. The Lord said, "They shall build, but I will throw down." In the book of Malachi, chapter 1, 3 on down. Right? So the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all indeed. Because Babylon the Great has committed an infinite amount of sins on the earth. Right? Verse 23, here's the point we want. "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And that's what we want, man. The Most High saying that the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee. The light of the candle is a representation of the so-called white man's wisdom, his understanding, his secret counsels. That is a part of his light of his candle. His engineers, his science, his NASA, all of his understanding that keeps the world out of so-called darkness and makes them a civilized kingdom and a civilized nation. That's the light of the candle that's bringing forth all nations to come to America. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants, his merchants are his corporations, right? When you look up Babylon the Great, his Exxon, right, his BP, right? Those are his oil producing companies, his Federal Reserve, right? These are his merchants, his top corporations. And those are his CEOs, those top men, were the great men of the earth. They are the great men. Forbes 500, right? I believe there's an X amount of men that control 90% of the world's wealth. Those are the great men of the earth, and those are your merchants, your Rothschilds, your Rockefellers, who print the money, who design how the system is going to operate. The Lord said, for abide by sorceries, and telling people that the so-called New Year, or that the New Year begins in January, is an act of sorcery. Sorcery is witchcraft. Sorcery doesn't always have to be, like we always say, somebody doing hocus pocus with a so-called magic wand. Sorcery doesn't always have to be a witch wearing all black, mixing snails and frogs, right? And a big black cauldron that turns green and bubbles and pops, man. Sorcery is manipulation. Sorcery is deception. Sorcery is telling the world lies and beguiling their mind to do things contrary to Yahweh Blasphemy Yahushua. That is sorcery. And everybody's deceived. Now, Israelites in all nations are deceived, and actually all nations are deceived. Right? You got I just came from Chicago this past weekend, and downtown is literally, you got Elamites, you got the Hamites out there, and they're deep, huh? Right? You got of course, you got the Ishmaelites, the Edomites, the Moabites, the Hamites, the Ammonites. There's even Japhites. There's all nations out there. And what were they doing downtown? Freaking off, getting ready for the so-called New Year. Everybody is deceived to think that January 1st is the new beginning of a year. Let's go to the book of Daniel, right? Chapter 7. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to read verse 8, then I'm going to jump to verse 25. Right? Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8. It reads, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now, what is Daniel seeing? Daniel is seeing America come into power, but he's watching the vision of an eagle. Remember, this beast in Daniel 7 is actually an eagle, right? Now, when you read about this, this is speaking about America. America's the little horn that came up. They came up out of the 10 horns. Your 10 horns is your modern day European Union. America is an offshoot of England, right? That's America's inception. They tell you about it from the time that you're 5 years old, and you hear about it to the time you're 55 years old. How America came out of England. All right, so they are the little horn before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. The first horn that fell was England. America took them down in the Revolutionary War and finished them off in the War of 1812. Then they took down France in a quasi-war. They fought in the so-called Native Indian Wars, right? They actually bought them out during the Louisiana Purchase as well. And then they took down Spain in the Spanish-American War. So these are the 3 horns that were taken up and plucked up by America. This is how America came into power. And behold, in this horn, meaning in this powerful nation, because a horn represents strength or power. Like our horn is Yahweh Shah, right? Like Zechariah said in Luke chapter 1, 68 on down, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, right? Who hath raised up a horn of salvation, as he spake by the mouth of all his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. That's Luke 168 through 70. So in this horn were the eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. And really, what is Esau's mouth? Speaking great things. His mouth is really starting through his media. That's how Esau talks. It's not a so-called white man just coming out and talking to everybody. Hey, look, hey, this is how we're going to do the new year. Okay, here's daylight savings time. Okay, here's the real definition of Christmas. No, he's speaking that through propaganda, through sorcery, right? Through the television program, through predictive programming, subliminal messages, the education system, his curriculums, his politicians, his commercials, his agenda. It's all pushed out by the media. That's his mouth speaking great things, telling the world to get ready because the so-called New Year's is January the 1st. He's speaking great things. And what makes it so great? What makes it so great is the Most High already told you when the new year begins. That's what makes it a great thing. The great thing is blasphemous things, wicked things. You understand? Idolatrous things. These are the great things that he's speaking because he's speaking against what the Most High have already established. And you have people saying, okay, 2024 is going to be good to me. That is idolatry. You can't say that a year is going to be good to you. Okay, month of January, be good to me. I'm entering in January 2024 with blessings. Okay, 2024 is the year I want to finally, see my son. It's the year I finally want to start renewing my gym membership. It's the year I finally want to get my life right. 2024, be good to me. That is idolatry, man. 2024 are numbers. 4 numbers, and they have no power over your well-being, success, life, prosperity, or failure in the land of the living. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. Actually, I wanted to jump to verse 25, right? Daniel 7, and I'll read 24, right? Daniel 7 and 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. That's your European Union. It's Daniel 7 and 8. It's saying the same thing as Daniel 7 and 24, right? But Daniel from 7:19 on down is the explanation of the 4th beast, right? So it reads, I'm going to read it from the top again. Daniel 7 and 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings, right? Though we talked about these 3 kings, they subdued. And they're diverse based off of their political system, right? The melting pot, their military might. They are completely different than the other kings in England, right? Or in Europe. Let's read on. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time. So the so-called white man, he's speaking great words against the Most High. That's why Daniel 7 and 8 says he had the mouth that speaketh great things. Because verse 25 tells you that those great things are great words against Yahweh, Blasphemy Yahushua. And time would fail us to go into every word. We wouldn't be able to fit in the book. Like when you read about the works of Judas Maccabees or the works of Yahushua and the Acts of Solomon and certain things, you won't be able to contain it. If we were able to document and record everything that Esau spake against the Most High, right? One of the main things that we're touching on is the times of the year and the changes of the seasons. Many other such things has he spoken against the Most High, such as what? Saying that he is the Most High. He is the Son of God. He is the Israelites. He's the so-called Jew. He's the angels, right? That land is his. We're Negroes and Hispanics and Black people and Native Americans. These are great things against the Most High because the standard has been set already, but he's trying to turn it upside down. And he's wearing out the saints, man. We're worn out. Our food is polluted and tainted. The air, you can barely breathe. The water is corrupt with lead and microscopic shrimp and oil and chemicals and fluoride and sorcery, man. Everything is defiled here. We're worn out through these so-called jobs, overtime, no rest, bills, rent, stress. We're worn out mentally. We're worn out emotionally with hundreds of years of trauma, of slavery that we have yet to heal from. We're worn out spiritually, being deprived of our God, right? We're worn out physically, slaving for the last 500 so years, man. We're worn out mentally, being forced to learn all of your nasty curriculums from the time that we are 4 to 5 years old to the time that you're damn 18, 19 of indoctrination. We are just completely worn out here, man. And it reads, and think to change times and laws. And the beautiful word here is think. So you may think that he actually did it. A lot of people say, well, the so-called white man changed. No, he thought to change it. You can't change time. You cannot change laws. You can say laws don't exist. You can enforce your own laws. You can misconstrue the meaning of a law and disannul the punishment thereof, but you can't change the Most High's laws. They're already set. They're written, and they were ordained of old. Like when you read, the Lord said the law endureth forever and ever, man, to 1,000 generations. Right? This is Psalms 119 and 43. And take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth, for I have hoped in thy judgments. So shall I keep thy law continually forever and ever. So the law is forever and ever. Let's go to First Chronicles. So you can't change something that has been created to endure forever. You can tell people the deceptive meaning behind it and tell them a lie, but you cannot change the truth, right? The truth always exists, right? This is First Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 14. He is Yahweh, our God. His judgments are in all the earth. Be ye mindful always of his covenant, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, meaning forever, right? 1,000 generations. So guess what, man? That's still in this time today, right? That's still in this time today, because even if you said no, that's just talking about that time, right? Well, that's forever, man. Even if you said a generation is 100 years, right? Well, that's 10,000 so-called years. That's forever. 1,000 generations is forever. So you cannot change the laws. There's still a penalty for being a sodomite. You still can't commit adultery. You still can't lay down with a beast. Right? That's Leviticus 20 and 13, Leviticus chapter 20 and 10, Leviticus chapter 20 and 15 on down. You can't do certain things because the Most High have commanded it to be so. Despite what Esau pushes out there, the laws endure forever. What else can Esau change? That's why it says think. And think to change times. He's thinking to change times. He hasn't changed the times. The times still exist. The winter time still exists. He may try to say, okay, we're going to get this much snow this year. Because, you know, the so-called white man, he makes fake snow, fake rain. He manufactures earthquakes, right? By going through the plates and taking the oil out. And he's doing wildfires now. I'm not sure if brother saw that, but these wildfires that be happening in Hawaii, California, they got footage of the so-called white man shooting lasers down, starting wildfires, man. Burning up trees to build mansions and underground bunkers and commit all types of damn witchcraft. So the wintertime still exists. The summertime, the spring, the fall. The ordinance of the sun and the moon endure forever. How is time determined? Time is created by Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, right? Now, the Most High has set up the sun and the moon for signs and seasons and days and years. Now, Esau can't change the sun and the moon. Now, you did have the so-called Chinese man. Let's go to Genesis 1. What he tried to do was he tried to create a fake sun. Let me see if I can find that real quick. See if I can find that. So they tried to create a so-called fake sun. This was, I believe, last year, an artificial sun. Right? This was like last year, maybe 2 years ago. And the Moabite man is doing that because he just wants to be like the so-called white man. Right? He just wants to be like the beast. Like it's in Revelation 13, who is likened to the beast, who is able to make war with them. Right? Look at that. Around this time, so-called last year. Breakthrough in China's artificial sun. Salakia. Artificial suns. These wicked ads. Salakia. All right. Breakthrough in China's artificial sun project could lead to more stable fusion energy. International team. Right. So they want to create artificial suns, artificial moons. But you can't make a fake sun and launch it up into the firmament and say, okay, we're going to kick that sun out the way and we're going to deal with this. No, you cannot alter the seasons that Yahweh Bashmiah created. This is Genesis chapter 1. But what he can do is tell you that the new year is in the wintertime, right? And he could tell you that. That doesn't mean that the seasons are out of whack. Okay? This is Genesis chapter 1 and 14. And the Most High said, that's really the Elohim, Yahweh and the angels, right? And the Most High said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Now, what are these lights in the firmament of the heaven? That is your sun, your moon, and your stars. And they are used to divide the darkness from the light, right? And they are used for signs, such as what? A blood moon, an eclipse, right? These things are to let you know that the Most High is judging the earth, right? Oftentimes when you see a blood moon or an eclipse or, certain things that are strange in the sky, the Most High is letting you know that, hey, look, he's about to destroy the nations, judge Israel, right? There are constellations and things that line up. The Most High is letting you know that he's doing things on earth. And they're often a sign for repentance. See, these nations, they freak off at the signs in the firmament. They do news programming and network and say, hey, look, there's an eclipse. Everybody go outside, get your telescope, lay the blanket down, get your sandwiches ready, and make it a family affair. Instead of knowing that which you're captivated off of, is a sign of your destruction. So the sun and the moon and the stars are for signs. Even the children of Issachar, when you read 1 Chronicles 12, they can look at the sun, moon, and the stars, and they knew how to arrange an army and knew how to shoot the archers and take the archers and put them over here because the wind was moving this way and the stars aligned this way, and they were able to read the stars and read the sun and the moon, right? Some people can't read an actual book, and some people can. The tribe of Issachar can read the actual stars with understanding, and just some people can't. We don't have that understanding now because the sun and the moon and the stars, they communicate, they teach, they talk. They're very verbal and loquacious. And if you were given a spirit of understanding, like the tribe of Issachar in the ancient times, you can comprehend what they're telling you, right? But if the Most High didn't give you that, then you can't hear it, right? It's falling on deaf ears, for lack of better terms. This is 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. So they had understanding of the times. The times are what? The years and it's the seasons and using the sun, moon, and the stars. That's what it means, understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do. All right. So they knew how to move men in order based off what the Most High communicated based off of the stars. Right. So that's why Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has set these things up in their order. Right. Let's go to Psalms chapter 19. This is Psalms chapter 19 and verse 1. The heavens declare the glory of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. His handiwork are, again, what's displayed in the firmament. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line is going out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. You see that? The sun has a dwelling place. The moon has a dwelling place, which is what? The firmament. The stars have their respective constellations that move in their order. And the Most High is telling you that every day, day into day is every day, 24/7. They're uttering speech. What is the number one thing that the sun is talking to you about? Is the sun saying it's hot? No, the sun is hot within itself. The sun tells you what hour the day is. Within the 12 hours of the day, the sun is letting you know, hey, look, it's noonday. Okay, look, it's 3 p.m. Okay, it's 4 p.m. Right? That's what, on a cardinal level, the simplest thing, that's what the sun is telling you. He tells you other things, but that's his number one type of conversation. Right? And if you're on another level, he'll tell you more things. And he'll converse with you. And the moon tells you other things. The main things that the moon converses with man is about is what day of the week it is. Okay, so the moon tells you the days and the years, and the sun speaks about the hours and the times. So if you can understand what they're telling you, you can arrange things in their proper order, like the children of Issachar. So they actually communicate. Now, can Esau shut up the sun from speaking and shut up the moon from telling you? No, because if you understand the sun and the moon, you would know that the new year will begin in the springtime, right? Even certain moons are a lot larger than others, and they appear like the harvest moon. The harvest moon, like we always go into, that comes around the time of the Feast of Tabernacles, that is the brightest moon of the seventh month. And that moon is actually in the night sky for a longer period of time compared to the other moons that happened in previous months, right? Because that moon is a moon to allow you to gather in your harvest and to keep the wild beast away as you gather in your corn and your wine and things of that nature to celebrate your ingathering, right? So these are certain things that the sun and the moon tell you. Now, there are 12 moons that operate in a year. All right, that's where you get the word month from. So if this is a new year or a new month, according to the Bible, there are 12 moons or 12 months. That's where Esau get it from. Esau get his 12 months from the 12 moons of the lunar cycle. And each moon has a name, or each month has a name. Now these are, let's pull this up. These are your so-called names of the months. Now, these are your Babylonian names or your Assyrian names. So these are your more popular names, right? So here's your so-called Hebrew calendar. So what you're looking at on the left on this side, you see the months. You see April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, right? So when you're dealing with your first month of the year, your first month of the year is Abib, which means green corn. Now, it's also called Nisan, right? You'll see that being called Nisan throughout the Bible as well. See, sometimes predominantly in the Old Testament, before the captivity of the Babylonians, you'll see a lot of the months' names with their actual Hebrew name. And after the Babylonian captivity, and during that captivity, we were forced to adopt many customs of the Babylonians, one of them being their names of the month. Just like now, what we call January, February. These are Roman names. Okay. So in the ancient world, just like ancient Babylon, because no new thing is under the sun, we adopted those names. We adopted a script, the Assyrian script, right? After around the 6th century. That's where you see certain types of Hebrew in the Lashon Kodash, or the Paleo Hebrew, which is the script, and then you see certain here Hebrew written in Assyrian script, and that was adopted during the Babylonian Empire, along with these months of the year. So your first month of the year is Abib, also known as Nisan. Your high holy days in that are your feast of unleavened bread, right? That's your feast of unleavened bread, and they actually kind of give you an insight what kind of happens in that year from a climate weather level and what the average temperature is, right? In the Holy Land. So if you look at this key right here, the average temperature from the blue is, below freezing and below, then it gets around 86 or so. So around the time of your new year, the expected temperature should be around 50 degrees or so. Now, what is January? What's the average temperature of January? Let's pull this up. Temperature of January. Let's see what they say. Right now, they say 42.24. Now, this is in Maryland, right? But mostly every state, unless you like in California, Florida, maybe Southern Texas, something like that, it's cold, right? And nature speaks for itself because the flowers aren't blooming, the animals are hibernating, everything is asleep and docile and dead. And like we always say, you can't have a new year when everything's dead. You can't have new life with a dead child. Okay? You can't have a new car when a car is broken down and on fire and rusted away. When something is new, it equates to life, right? Perfection, brightness. You understand? So when you're dealing with, especially dealing with nature, all right? Now, when you go back to this article, the average time in the Holy Land it's like the average temperature in the Holy Land is at its peak 50 degrees. And that's around the time of the barley harvest. All right, that's around the time of the barley harvest. When you go to the book of Joshua, since we're dealing with the new year and the signs and the seasons, right, we want to get understanding from a Hebrew Israelite perspective, right? Because, yeah, we say that the new year is in the springtime, but let's talk about it, right? This is the book of Joshua. Let's dive further into it. This is Joshua 3 and 14. And it came to pass when the people removed from their tents to pass over Jordan, and the priests bearing the ark of the covenant before the people. And as they that bear the ark were coming to Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest. So around the time of the barley harvest, which comes in and peaks out in that so-called springtime, that's when you have the Jordan River that overflows. Okay. And then you have your increase that comes after that, or your harvest. So this happens. If you were in the ancient world, you would expect this. This was common talk back then. Right now, there's common talk of the ball dropping and New Year's resolutions and what 2024 has in store for you. Back then in the ancient world, in the new year, you had a harvest coming in. You had the barley harvest during the time of the new year, which came in late March to early April during your first moon of the year. Your first moon was Abib, aka Nisan. Let's pull this back up. That is even when you read the book of Ruth, you read about the time of the barley harvest. Let's just type that in for sake of time. All right, let's go to the book of Ruth. Read that's the second chapter. Let's read first chapter. This is Ruth chapter 1, and verse 22. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. So if you in the ancient world, you would know, okay, oh, this was around the time of the Passover. Okay, they came in the first month of the year. But if you're reading this with a Western mind, you're like, barley harvest, who cares? What is that about? You have to have an ancient mind. Remember, this is your book. You have to know about these times and these seasons and these days and these years. Around your new moon and your so-called new year, you had a barley harvest that drew nigh. And that's when they came in at the true new year. When Ruth and Naomi came out of the land of Moab, they came around the time of your so-called new year, when the banks will overflow. That was a sign of the new year, not a ball dropping, as they counted down in a melting pot of sodomy and lust. There were actual signs that brought about a new year. There were things agriculturally, horticulturally, right, that you would look at and say, okay, this is the first month of the year. And our forefathers were in tune with these things, man. Not like now, Jake don't know what's going on. You're just glad you're off work, right? You're just glad you don't have to work. You're glad that, 2024 is going to be a good year to you. And you're just expecting the best, man. In your sins. But in the ancient world, these things were common knowledge. So that's your new year. See, they even tell you, look, Jordan swells from rains and the melting snow. So snow should be melting around the time of the so-called new year. It shouldn't be starting to snow. A lot of people get the most snow in January. Late December, January, you might get a snowstorm, late January, February. So that's your barley harvest. Now, you also have your second month of the year, right? And I'm going to just read the Assyrian or Babylonian names, which is Ziv, right? That's your dry season begins, mostly clear skies, and that's the time of your wheat harvest, when your wheat is coming in. All right? And then you have your Sivan, and that goes into your Pentecost, which is your Feast of Weeks. And you're really gathering your wheat. That's what Pentecost is about. It's called the harvest in the law. When you read the book of Exodus, chapter 23, you read about the harvest. Right? Remember, our signs and our seasons and our years have it's like a foundation rooted in horticulture and agriculture. Right? What is horticulture? Let's pull this up. Horticulture is the cultivation of plants in gardens or greenhouses, as opposed to the field scale production of crops characteristic of agriculture. Right? So we dealt with both horticulture and agriculture. And both of these words, the root word of agriculture, argos or agros, goes back to the Latin for field. And horticulture goes back to a garden, like hortus, all right, or plants. When you deal with the etymology of those words, we're not a people of iPhones and flat screen TVs in antiquity. We are a people in tune with the elements. So when you deal with this in Exodus chapter 23, right? This Exodus chapter 23 and verse 16, right? Exodus 23 and 16. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of thy field. So the feast of harvest is what your barley harvest. All right? That is your barley harvest. The first fruits of thy labors. When do you get your first fruits? Around the time of the first month of the year, which is late March, early April. And you have the feast of ingathering. It's like your feast of harvest is your so-called wheat harvest. All right, that's around your time of your Feast of Weeks. And you have your Feast of Ingathering. Your Feast of Ingathering is your Feast of Tabernacles. That is the end of the year. So your end of your year is technically, from a agricultural standpoint, the 7th month. All right, from an agricultural standpoint. So you have two cycles. You have your annual cycle and you have your agricultural cycle. Your agricultural cycle begins the first month. It's likely the last month around the time of Feast of Tabernacles at the end of the year. But from an annual cycle, your 12th month is the end of the year. Right? You got to remember that we operated off of the harvest, and we operated off of the actual 12 moons of the year. So we would have, if you brought Abraham or Moses or Aaron or David to this time, you told them that you took them outside and said it's the new year, they'll want to fight you, man. And they'll be upset. They may not want to fight, but they'll be hot, man. They'll call you a deceiver in Hebrew. They'll look at you like you have three heads, man. Take Abraham out and tell him, walk him outside, right? Give him a North Face jacket, right? Bundle him up, put a winter coat on him, and say, look, Abraham, Father Abraham, this is the new year. It's going to be a big deal, man. So we're not deceived by the inventions of Esau. We understand when the end and the beginning of years were in the days of old, and even now. So that's your third month, Savant. Right? Then you have Tammuz. Right? This is your summertime coming in. Your heat increases, and you have heavy dews in the area. That's when your so-called grapes will come in. Right? Then you have Ab, which is the peak of the heat. That's your summer fruits coming in. Like when you read the book of Amos, he saw a basket of summer fruits. The summer fruits come in during that month. Then you have Elul, which are your dates, your grapes, and your figs. Then you have Tishrei, right? That's your 7th month. And you can see the summer ends and the early rain begins. And you'll even read in the Bible about the early rain and the latter rain. All right? You have your early rain and your latter rain. And then you can read the rest of this, right? These are your actual months. Now, January, I just want to jump down to get to the point. January, it says Shabbat, right? Not Shabbat or Shabbat. Cold weather lessens, rain continues, almonds blossom. It doesn't say anything about a new year, right? This is the 11th month of the year. This is indeed the 11th month. It's not even close. It's not even a 12th month. Your 12th month is actually February. All right. And even Esau months, the names of them tell you that he has altered these things. When you're dealing with September, what is the origin of sept? Sept is a prefix for 7. Like when a woman has twins, she can have twins, she can have triplets, she can have quadruplets, she can have 7 children, and they would call it septuplets. Right? Because she had 7 of them. They would call it septuplets. There's a shape called a septagon. A septagon has 7 sides. So now in this man's world, September is the 9th month of the year. But technically, September is the 7th month of the year. And we'll go into this man's calendar and what he has done. Same thing with October. October, you have an octagon, right? An octagon has what? 8 sides. Oct means 8. Now, when you're dealing with October technically, in this man's world, it's the 10th month of the year. But it's technically supposed to be the 8th. November means 9, or Nav means 9. All right? So November is the 11th month in this man's world, but in its actuality, it's the 9th month of the year, not the 11th month. Dec, if you have a decagon, a decade, right? To decimate. That's what DEC means. Dec means 10. When you decimate people, you literally line them up, and you take the 10th man and you kill the man. That's what the Romans would do. It's called a decimation. They would line up a heathen army. They would count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the 10th man, they'll kill that man. That's called a decimation, because you kill the 10th man. All right. So now you're dealing with this man's world where December is the 12th month. That's why Daniel said he would think to change times, because it's still 12 months, but he shifted, what these things are about and what they mean. Now, these are your 12 months, right? Now, when you're dealing with Esau, this is from the British Museum.org. I didn't make this up. I didn't make this site, right? This is something you can look up on your own. This is common knowledge now, right? That's why we read it. Let's go back to Daniel, right? Let's go back to Daniel. I want to go back to Genesis as well. But this is Daniel again, Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13. All right, Revelation chapter 13 and verse 5. It reads, and there was given unto him, the helm is Esau, chiefly the Roman Empire, Greco-Roman Empire. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. You see that? 42 months, which is a time and a half a time. Time is 360 days. Times is 720 days, and dividing of time, or half of time, is 180. Can you add up 360 plus 720 plus 180? You get 1,260, right? You take that, you divide it by 30, you get your 42 months. So these are your 42 months. So Revelation 13 and 5 is the same thing as Daniel 7 and 25. Same thing as Revelation 12 and 6. Same thing as Revelation 12 and 14. Same thing as Daniel chapter 12 and 7. But they're all saying the same thing when it comes to how you measure that time. That's something Esau can't change, the understanding of that. Nevertheless, the point I really want is the mouth that Esau speaks, which are his great things and blasphemies, altering how these months run in throughout the year is a great sin, because you're beguiling the saints of the Most High God. Another thing he has done is he has attached the moons to what? To gods, like the ancient Babylonians. He has attached each month of the year to one of his gods or one of his men. And he is causing the people to praise these gods and to speak these gods and not know the name of the Most High. Let's go to Exodus chapter 23. So when you do this New Year's celebration, you get your party wings, right? You get your little glasses that say 2024. Let's see a New Year's celebration. Right? So lucky. Let's type this in. Right? When you're doing this thing, you're going to Times Square, you're freaking off. You want to watch the fireworks. You want to play New Year's bingo or whatever you're into, man. You want to watch the live, you got the food, you got the drinks, right? Whenever you're into this, don't you know you're praising these so-called gods of the world? You are committing idolatry at the highest level. Janus is one of the top gods in this man's world. All right. Esau has many gods that he wants you to worship, but Janus is something that he lauds and praise. All right. He wants you to worship Nimrod, Tammuz, a lot of these so-called heathenistic pagan gods, but Janus is one of his top gods. That's one of those things he came back from Rome with. He said, we taking this back. Remember, and that shows that America is Rome all over again, because they have not even brought, not only have they brought the political system back of America being a republic, and Rome was a republic. Not only did they bring that back, they brought the architecture back. When you look at ancient Roman architecture, and you look at modern day colleges, universities, public buildings, of government buildings, they're one and the same. Not only that, he brought back the gods of ancient Rome, and he gave them to you and made you serve them and worship them. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 13. Let's deal with it. Right? Exodus chapter 23 and 13. And in all things that I said unto you, be circumspect and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. Now, really, that's going into serving these gods, because if you mention them, that means you're going to do the works that comes with serving those gods, like praising them and eating up the food dedicated to them, right? Going to those so-called religious ceremonies and cutting yourself and doing strange rites. But now we're really making mentioning of these other gods, man, as if it's a light thing. Let's go to the book of Hosea, chapter 2. This is Hosea, chapter 2, and verse 16. Now, this is speaking about the time where we're going to be in the second wilderness. Hosea chapter 2 and 16. And it shall be at that day, saith Yahweh, that thou shalt call me Ishi. And that's husband, right? I believe in the Hebrew that's Ayash, right? Or Ayashia, or a husband. And shall call me no more Baali, which is what? Other gods or lords, right? So right now, we're calling upon all these other gods. Verse 17. For I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. So we're not going to be saying January in the kingdom. Okay, it's the month of March. Okay, it's December. Right? Okay, no, it's April. The Most High is going to take all of these gods, even the days of the week. He's going to take all of these so-called days of the week that are named after Roman and Greek gods and heathen gods out, man. You're going to have to first, it's going to go back to the ancient world. The days of the week are just numerical, right? The first day, the second day, the third day. The only day that has a meaning is the seventh day. That's another reason why it's holy or set apart, because it's the only day that's named. Shabbat, which is the day of rest. Other than that, it's going to go back to the ancient world where all of the days of the week were just numerical. Okay? And all of the months of the year, the moon, when that moon came in after its lunar cycle, there was a name attached to that moon. So that first moon that was attached was Abib, which means green corn. Because that moon, the name of that moon told you what would happen in that respective season. So when you saw that moon, you said that's the moon of Abib, or the month of Abib. Because in that month, that's when the green ears of the barley harvest will begin to draw nigh. Now, let's deal with this. What's in the name? Months of the year. So I'm going to read a little of this, but I'm not going to read this whole thing. Right? You can go on this on your own. This is britishmuseum.org. The name of the months of the year. They go into it, right? So they're saying we mark time in many different ways. One unit, the month, has been in use for thousands of years. And again, the word month goes back to the word moon. All right, and I want to pull that up. Let's actually prove that in the Bible, that the word month goes back to the word moon. Right? This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 43 and verse 6. He made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. So the moon comes in her season, right? And the moon is always feminine, and the sun is always masculine. And that's a just balance with the Most High. Because the sun is always a greater light. Like man is a greater light. Man has been given more understanding, more wisdom, more knowledge. They're the prophets, the priests of the Most High God. They have a greater light on the earth. That's why the sun is masculine. The moon has light, like a daughter of Zion has light. How to teach the woman, guide the children, do righteous works, but her light is lesser than the light of her husband. That's why the moon is feminine and the sun is masculine. And that's a just balance. And they work in agreement. They always agree. Like the Lord said, a man and his wife, and three things I was beautified, instead of beautiful, both between God and men, paraphrasing. The unity of brethren, the love of neighbors, and a man and a wife that agree together. And the sun and the moon, they agree. They don't clash, right? They do not clash. They don't argue. They don't bicker. They don't go tit for tat. They're in perfect order and harmony and synchronization. All right. So the moon serves in her respective season, a declaration of times, and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection, because your feast days are predicated off of which moon comes in. Here's the point. The month is called after her name. Let me read that again. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So the word month literally goes back to the word moon. All right, playing upon tables. Now, let's deal with these months that have been used for thousands of years. Ever wonder why we call the months what we do? Wonder no longer. Here's our handy guide to the names of the months of the year. Like many aspects of culture, it's a bit of a mixed bag, but we can thank the Romans for most of it. Remember, America is Rome all over again. And that's a whole nother lesson within itself. The similarities between America and Rome are outrageous, but the months are one of them. January is named after the Roman god Janus. As you can see in this print, he had two faces, so he could see the future and past. He also was the god of doors. And that's why people say that January is going to be good to me, as if they're leaving 1 year behind, and this year opens up a door of prosperity. As if January 1st opens up a door of success and opportunity to you. You're praising Janus. Just because you say 2024, you're praising the God of doors. A door does what? Allow you to exit or enter. You're exiting 2023, you're entering and walking into 2024, hoping that you get success, right? Hoping that you get some type of prosperity, right? Now, you can see this so-called God with two faces, right? You see this so-called God with two faces, right? In it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right. Now, the two faces represent one from the past and one from the future. All right, bear with me. Salakia, bear with me. All right, Salaki, let's pull this back up. All right, let's read this again. You see the two, like I was saying, you see the two heads, right? One from the past and one from the future, right? And they actually have 365, right? Because that goes back to your so-called solar calendar. Your solar calendar or solar year operates at 365.25 days. That's why the so-called white man has a leap year, right? He has a so-called leap year because every 0.25 days you have a so-called year that's added. That's where he gets that from. And see his key to the different doors. All right, you see his key to the different doors. So that's Janus, man. That's who the masses of people are serving today, all day yesterday, and all day today, getting drunk on and damn freaking off, man, on this so-called God. Now, here's the etymology of January, right? So January, from the old French, this etymology, which is the origin of the words, from the old French, Genever, from the Latin, now that there's an I, annuaris, the month of Janus. See that? To whom the month was sacred. I thought the law of the Most High was sacred. I thought the Sabbath was the most sacred day. But again, in this man's world, January is sacred, right? To whom the month was sacred as the beginning of the year, according to later Roman reckoning. The form was gradually Latinized, right? Latinized, replaced the Old English Latin Yule and chanter a type for an old man. All right. So really it goes back to Janus. Now here's Janus again. An ancient Italic deity. Meaning it goes back to ancient Italy. All right. The Romans, the guardian god of portals, doors, and gates, patron of beginnings and endings. So this is one of the top gods. I thought Yahushua was the beginning and the end. I thought he was the Alpha and the Omega. I thought he was the door you read about in the book of John, the 10th chapter. So how did the so-called white man get this, man? And make his own God. Right? Let me read that again. To the Romans, the guardian god of portals, doors, and gates, patron of beginnings and endings. Right? Let's see. From Latin Janus, literally gate or arch passageway. He is shown as having two faces. And who wants to have a God with two faces, man? When has being two-faced ever been a compliment? Right? When has it ever been a good thing to praise somebody with two faces? All right. He is shown as having two faces, one in the front, the other in back. They may represent sunrise and sunset and reflect an original role as a solar deity. His temple in Rome was closed only in times of peace. Right? So this is one of the top gods, man. Anything that has to do with the sun worship, witchcraft, sorcery, the so-called white man loves it, man. That's what Christmas was all about. Christmas was all about Nimrod, the sun god. And so is Janus. It's all about doors and gates and portals and duality. Now, when you read the book of Genesis, I actually want to touch on portals, doors, and gates, right? When you go to Genesis, the 28th chapter, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 28, right? This is Genesis chapter 28 and verse 11. Because doors that connect the spirit world to the earth actually exist, but there's no God of that. See, the so-called white man takes all of these different things and puts a god over it. He has a god of war, a god of the fire, a god of the waters, a god of the wind, a god of hunting. The so-called white man even has a god of drunkenness, wine, and orgies. Bacchus, or the Greek version Dionysus. Right? But let's read this. This is Genesis chapter 28 and 11. So gates and doors and portals, for lack of better terms, a portal just means a door. When you look up the etymology of it, it's nothing spooky. All right, let's pull up portal. A portal means a gate or a gateway. All right. So it just means a gate. A said door, but a gate. Now, a gate allows things to enter in and things to exit. So when you read Genesis, the 28th chapter, we're going to read about that. This is Genesis chapter 28 and verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night because the sun was set. And he took up the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and laid down in that place to sleep. So this Jacob was a hard man. This is why Jake know how to live a struggle. Live in a struggle, they call it. Jacob had pillows, but his pillows were stones. So you can take Jacob and put him in today's world and, limit their resources and access to certain things. And that's how Jake is able to survive, man. Jake don't need all of the stuff the so-called white man got. Jake need this and that, and he can make it happen, man. And when you get that from your forefather, he took 2 stones and used them as pillows. Let's read on. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of the Most High ascending and descending on it. So you had the angels of the Most High ascending and descending from the third heaven to the earth. They were leaving the earth, going to the third heaven, and they were leaving the third heaven, and they were coming down to the earth. Now, it wasn't an actual ladder, right? They didn't hold a ladder. It wasn't made of steel, and they climbed the ladder, and they had to have the OSHA requirements and a hard hat. No, it was simply speaking about how a ladder is used to climb up and climb down, right? So when the Most High gave this to Moses, when Moses saw, or what he described it was a ladder, and that was the best way he could describe what he saw. All right. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And here's the point. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not. So the Lord is in the land of Israel, right? And Jacob didn't know. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of the Most High, and this is the gate of heaven. So why is the land of Israel called the gate of heaven? All right. So you have gates that exist in a spiritual world, or what the world calls a portal, right? Or a door. Now, what this does, it allows the angels to leave the earth and come directly to the heavens. So they don't have to go through the firmament and go through the waters and avoid the sun and the moon and the clouds. And no, they can teleport directly from the heavens to the earth and the earth to the heavens. They can leave that celestial realm and dwell amongst men. And they go through that gate, through that door. Let's see if we can get a picture of this. Right? Jacob's, what they call Jacob's ladder. And it's not Jacob's ladder, right? This is what the Most High has set up. See that? So that's the portal right there. All right. Or the gate. And that's where all of your angels ascend and descend from. Right? When you go to Revelation, let's go to Revelation chapter 7. Right? So gates and doors do exist, but there's no old white man that has jurisdiction and power over them. Revelation chapter 7 and verse 2. And I saw another angel ascending from the east. Why from the east? Well, we just read about it. All right. We just read from the east. It's the gate of heaven, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. So you have this gate of heaven that actually exists. And there are certain places on the earth and in cities that have a high level of what they call spirits, man. Right? A lot of spiritual activity. There's a lot of sodomite demons in Atlanta, DC. Now there's sodomites everywhere, but that spirit is heavy down there. Right? The spirit of murder is heavy in Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis. Right? There are just certain spirits that are higher in certain places than it is in other places. Because the Most High sends those spirits down there to those certain regions. To the Lord calls a principality. So gates and doors, for lack of better terms, they exist, but there's no God over that. There's no singular entity that has power over that. Yahweh, Blasphemy is the only God, and he controls how the angels move. They're part of his army. The Most High is called the Lord of Hosts. So any gate, any door, any spiritual work that's happening, the Most High is doing it, not Janus. But you people that praise the new year and laud this world, you are serving Janus. Let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 8. Right? 1 Corinthians, chapter 8 and verse 5. For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or in earth, as there be gods many and lords many, but to us, meaning to the Israelites, there is but one God, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yahweh Shai Hamashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. All right, so there's one God. Shema Yasha'ala Yahweh Allahayanawa Yahweh Akkad. That's Deuteronomy chapter 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our God is one Lord. All right. So the Most High, there's only one God. But again, when you're dealing with the so-called white man, you're dealing with Janus, and you're serving his God. Let's go to Numbers chapter 25. Even the food that you're eating, you're dedicating to his God. Even that champagne, that liquor, that Hennessy, you're getting down with that God, man. It's not a light thing. It's a very evil thing. Numbers 25, especially when you know, right? The people that don't know, it's still evil. Deuteronomy, it's like in Numbers 25 and 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab. So they start getting off with the so-called Chinese woman. Right? And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. Right? You see that? So the anger of the Lord was kindled. He was hot, man. Right? When you kindle that, that's a fire. The Most High, his anger was hot like a fire, and he was against this thing that happened, against the people. See, right now, Esau's calling you into the sacrifice. He's telling you to order your wings, get your food, buy your liquor, go out, watch the ball drop, get everything that you need. You're being called into the sacrifice. All them people in Times Square, and I'm led to believe it's 15,000. See if we can find it. Maybe 20, hundreds of thousands. How many people? Let's see. Go to Times Square for New Year's. Ball drop. 1 million people. See that? As the famous New Year's Eve ball drop descends from the flagpole atop one Times Square, an estimated 1 million people in Times Square, millions nationwide, and over 1 billion watching throughout the world are united in bidding a collective farewell to the departing year and expressing our joy and hope for the year ahead. So this is one of the top gods that is worshipped. Billions of people are getting off on this so-called God throughout the world. And they all have food, and they all have drink, and they are all being called to the sacrifice. And they go willingly to the slaughter. Let's read it again. Numbers 25:2. And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods. And the people did eat and bowed down to their gods. Now, when you read this account, this was actually a plan that was set up by Baalim. So there was a man that orchestrated this sacrilegious act, that was the puppeteer behind the scene and was the mastermind, if you will, to cause Israel to go astray and serve these gods. And that man was Baalim. And that modern day man is Esau. He is the modern day Baalim to get Israel to eat of these sacrifices and the world and to bow down to these gods. Go to Numbers chapter 31. All right. This is Numbers chapter 31 and verse 16. I'm going to start at 15. Numbers chapter 31 and 15. So Israel went to war with the Midianites, right? And they brought the women captive. And the Most High was hot, man. Moses was hot. And he got on the people that brought the woman captive. He's going to tell you something. Numbers 31 and 15. And Moses said unto them, have ye saved all the women alive? Behold, these caused the children of Israel through the counsel of Baalim to commit trespass against the Lord and the matter of Peor. And there was a plague among the congregation of the Lord. So that whole plan of having that sacrifice and Israel being called to the sacrifice, that wasn't done by the woman. That was done by somebody behind the scenes through a council, a plan, a think tank. How much more can we get the Israelites to go off? Right? Because all this really deception is about the Israelites getting caught up in it. The nations are just for lack of better terms, they're just the casualties of war that comes with this thing. The war is really against Israel, but the other nations, they get caught up in the so-called white man's thing. It's just a casualty of war, man. Just the ramifications of what this war is about. And part of the war is to get you to serve things contrary to the Most High. But Allah did it back then. Read Psalms 83. Read Psalm 64. Right there of one consent to cut Israel off from being a nation. And that's why all of the Jake is into New Year's, man. Right, Jake, you're really into New Year's, man. You're into New Year's resolutions and freaking off and parties and clubbing and getting drunk and champagne all at New Year's. You take this thing to heart, man. These are gods of these other nations. Right? That's Janus. Then you have February. It's named after an ancient Roman festival of purification called Februa, right? March is named after Mars, the Roman god of war. This statue shows him in battle gear. The Roman calendar originally began in March. See that? Because everybody knew that the new year began in March. And I believe it was 1752. I have to pull that date up of when they switched it. So the Roman calendar originally began in March, and the months of January and February were added later after a calendar reform. Now, let's pull up when did January and February get added? One historian assigns that action an exact date by stating that January and February were added to the original Roman calendar of only 10 months was in 713 BC. January was named after Janus, a sky god who was ancient even at the time of Rome's founding. All right. So most sources, and we can go further into it, right? They added January and February. The ancestor of the Gregorian calendar was the first Roman calendar, which has some differences. It consisted of 10 months rather than 12. In order to synchronize the calendar with the lunar year, the Roman king Numa Pompilius added 2 more months, January and February. Now, that made it 12 months. But then you had months that were named like August, October. Those was named after so-called men. All right. So this whole thing was a debacle. And I believe I have to find that they actually began the so-called New Year. They switched the date up again in the 1700s. So this man is thinking to change times and laws, but he can't alter what the Most High have already established. So even when he was saying that there were 10 months, biblically, it was already established that there would be 12 months. All right. So let's go back to these so-called gods. So you have March, and that's Mars. April takes its name from the Latin word aprirere, meaning to open, just like flowers do in the spring. All right. Let's see what else they got. May is named after the Greek goddess Maya. Right. This print is an allegorical representation of the month of May. The artist has included the twins Castor and Pollux because the zodiac sign of Gemini starts in May. Right? See that? Esau and his naked babies. June is named after the Roman goddess Juno, the god of marriage and childbirth, and the wife of Jupiter, king of the gods. Here she is seated in a chariot. See that? Naked woman, naked babies. Goddess of childbirth, Juno. July and August, right? This goes to what I was going into, right? Were named after 2 major figures of the ancient Roman world, the statesman Julius Caesar on the left and Rome's first emperor Augustus. That's where July comes from, and August, right? The first emperor of Rome or the dictator was Julius Caesar, and the first emperor was his I believe his grandnephew Octavian. September and December, right? That's plain. This just takes on 7 through 10, right? But what about the rest? September, October, November, and December are named after Roman numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10. They were originally the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th months of the Roman year. See that? Before July and August were renamed after Roman rulers, they were called Quintilis and Sextilis, meaning 5th and 6th months, right? So you had Quintilis, which was the 5th month. You had Sextilis, which was the 6th month. You had Sept or September, which was the 7th month. You had October, November, and December. All right. So that's where you get your so-called gods, man. Right? So now you know why we call the months what we do. Here's one last fact. The word month itself is related to the moon, right? It originally measured how long it took for the moon to complete a cycle around the earth. So moon and month come from the same root, right? So your moon has a cycle, a lunar cycle of roughly 29.5 days. And an entire lunar cycle is 354.11 days. All right, and that's how your 12 moons operate through the spirit and power, right? It's like through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashima Mashiach Wamalak Yahushua. These are your so-called moons, and it has nothing to do with the Bible. Now, here's something else about your so-called New Year that was interesting, right? And it reminded me of prophecy. So that ball that they dropped, right? Where's that crystal ball? See if we can find this crystal ball drop. All right, New Year's crystal ball drop. Thought I had to pull it up already. Now, when you look up this so-called crystal ball that they drop, and they drop it every New Year's, right? It comes from a man named Jacob Starr, right? So ironic. Let's see if they got this. Jacob Starr, right? The first New Year's Eve ball made of iron and wood was adorned with 125 light bulbs, was 5 feet in diameter and weighed 700 pounds. It was built by a young immigrant metal worker named Jacob Starr. You see that? Jacob Starr. And for most of the 20th century, the company he founded, Artcraft Strauss, was responsible for lowering the ball. So Jacob is mainly into idolatry, and a man named Jacob Starr actually created that, and it looked like a star when it's up there in the heavens that Jacob worships, man. Right? So this was all set up by the Most High, man. Jacob Starr created this damn star ball that drops down and causes Jacob to worship him, man. So man's goings, are truly of the Lord, man. Man's goings are truly of the Lord. Now, let's go back to this. I want to go back to Daniel, right? Daniel chapter 7. Actually, I want Daniel chapter 2. Go to Daniel, the 2nd chapter. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 20. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of the Most High forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So who really changes the seasons and the times? The Most High. That's why Daniel 7 says, and he shall think to change seasons and times, paraphrasing. Daniel 2 and 21 confirms, it says, and he changeth. You don't say the Most High think it to change. The Most High do to change it. It's already established. And he changeth the times and the seasons. Let's go to Genesis chapter 8, right, to cover the times and the seasons. Right, this is Genesis chapter 8 and verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So these are your 4 seasons, right? Seed time is your springtime. Harvest time is your so-called fall time. And you can link this up with the different months. So seed time is a bit. Harvest time is around the time of your 7th month. So you have your spring and your fall. It says cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So those are your 4 seasons: winter, summer, seed time, and harvest. Now, that's your 4 seasons, and we know that the new year begins in the springtime. Right now, it's the wintertime. And I'm not talking about on the carnal level, talking about on a spiritual level. Right now, it's the wintertime. When Yahweh returns, his return and deliverance is likened to the springtime. Let's go to the book of Song of Solomon, 2nd chapter. And you'll truly know when the true springtime happens. Because the springtime is going to happen on the carnal level, but the springtime is also going to happen on the prophetic and spiritual level. This is Song of Solomon, right? Chapter 2. I mean, this whole chapter is good. I'm going to start at verse 7. Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and 7. Now, Song of Solomon is completely parabolic. There are very few things in here that's literal. So you want to make sure that if you want to unlock it, you got to remember that it's parabolic. And these are dark sayings. Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and 7. I charge you, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, by the roes and by the hinds of the field, that ye stir not up, nor awake my love till he please. So we have to be patient as we wait for Yahweh to return, to deliver us. We can't stir up and force the hand of the Most High and wage war and move at our own charges and take up arms and fight against the military. We have to wait till Yahweh or to Yahweh, but Hashem Yahweh pleases, right? So verse 7 speaks about our hope and charge of patience. Verse 8 speaks about the return of our Lord, but it's written in a parabolic way. Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and 8. The voice of my beloved. Behold, he cometh leaping upon the mountains and skipping upon the hills. That's hip talk saying Yahweh Shah is coming to destroy the mountains and the hills. The mountains are larger kingdoms. Hills are smaller kingdoms. All right. Mountains are what? Babylon the Great, Russia, China, the European Union. And then you have hills like South Korea, Japan, Nigeria. These are little kingdoms. And skipping upon them, meaning he's trampling upon them, leaping upon them. He's marching upon them and destroying them. My beloved is like a roe or a young hart. Right. Meaning he's swift in his destruction. So only going to take a roe and a young hart are fast. When you read Isaiah chapter 19 and 1, it reads, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud and shall come into Egypt. Because when Yahweh Shah is coming, that chariot is going to move faster than the speed of sound, man. Faster than anything that the so-called white man could ever invent. So his deliverance is going to be a swift thing, man. Did not the Most High say that he's going to make a speedy riddance of them that dwell in the land? In Zephaniah, the 1st chapter, right? Zephaniah chapter 1 and 18, right? It reads, neither their silver nor their gold shall be able to deliver them in the day of the Lord's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by the fire of his jealousy. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. So he's going to be running like or destroying like a roe or a young hart. You can't catch a damn deer, man. When you read about Joab's youngest brother or his younger brother Ashael, he was swift on his feet as a hart, man, or a roe. This man was fast, man. Right? Let's see if I can get that. That's in 1 Samuel. It's like in 2 Samuel, the 4th chapter. I'm not mistaken. All right, let me get this real quick. 2 Samuel. I may be spelling his name wrong. All right. Let's go to 2 Samuel. Let's see. 2 Samuel, maybe chapter 2. Salakia. Have to get this account. All right, here it is. 2 Samuel chapter 2 and 18. And there were 3 sons of Zerahiah here. I mean, there. Zerahiah is David's sister. So David had nephews. Joab was his nephew. Abishai and Asahel, or Asahel, were David's nephews. Right? He had another nephew in his army too, right? Which came from his older brother. And there were 3. So this was a family affair, man. And there were 3 sons of Zerahiah there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was light of foot as a wild roe. So this man was fast, man. Right? This guy could run at least maybe 35, 40 miles an hour. So Jake was fast, man. This was a Judite. So when we're dealing with a wild roe, it's dealing with swiftness and speed. That's why Song of Solomon, chapter 2 and 9 says, my beloved is like a roe or a young hart. Because this destruction that Yahushua is coming with, he's not tarrying. He's not going to wait. What is he waiting for, man? It's going to be swift. Behold, he standeth behind our wall. He looketh forth at the windows, showing himself through the lattice. So Yahushua is going to stand behind our wall, not literal, but spiritually speaking. He's going to be for his people, right? To deliver us. My beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. What does this mean? Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. That's the same thing in Revelation chapter 11 and 13, where the Lord said, come up hither. But it's saying it in a poetic way in Song of Solomon chapter 2 and 10, right? Get that in Revelation 11. Revelation chapter 11 and verse 12. That's what I want. Revelation chapter 11 and 12. And they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. So that rise up, my love, my fair one, come away, it's the same thing as come up hither. So when the chariots come and the spiritual wintertime and beam us up, it's going to say, come up hither. We're going to hear it. We're going to be ascended up or translated from the earth to the heavens. All right. So it's saying the same thing as Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon 2 and 10 again. My beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past. The rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. So this proves that a new year is coming. Not a literal new year, but a spiritual new year. A spiritual new year is coming when this winter time that we dwell in is over and gone. Right? Now, the winter time means that, again, there's no life. And there's no life here. Everybody's dead, man. Everybody's into Christianity. How could it be the new year? Even on a spiritual level. Everybody's into Islam. They're sodomites. They're freaking off. Look at all of the trees. Are the trees bringing forth fruit? Are the leaves green? Now, I'm speaking parabolically. You know? Are the leaves green? Are the birds out? No, there's war on the earth, famine, destruction, bloodshed, disease, pestilence, violence, wickedness. All of that is spiritual. It's the spiritual wintertime. Because the wintertime tells you what? That there's no life, no greenery. Another thing about the wintertime is that it's dark more than it's light. Right? The darkness prevails over the light, just like the tides of war. So the sun sets sooner and there's more darkness out there. And it is more darkness, man. That's why everybody's celebrating New Year's. And everybody's going to freak off and celebrate Valentine's Day. And everybody's going to fail their New Year's resolutions. And everybody's going to freak off and do so-called St. Patrick's Day. This is all showing you that this is the wintertime. Darkness, no life. And people get depressed in the wintertime too. They call it seasonal affective disorder. People are depressed, suicide rates increases, sadness and depression, and that's how it is amongst Israel, man. That's how we are here. So this is the wintertime. So let's go to the book of Job, chapter 24. This is Job, chapter 24, and verse 7. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing, that they have no covering in the cold. And this is the cold out here, man. Who's the they? The Edomites. So they cause the naked to lodge without clothing. Then they strip us of our garments. They take away the name of your God, the name of the Son of God. They take away your heritage, your nationality, your laws, your statutes, your commandments, your judgments, your Bible, your wisdom, your understanding. You have been stripped down naked, man. And you have no covering in this cold. We don't have any covering in the cold, you die. And you become a dead body in the grave. And he just toss you in a valley of dry bones, right? That's why Ezekiel said, can these bones live, man? So you're just tossed out and you're dead in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock for want of shelter, right? So our people embrace the rock, right, for want of shelter. So you don't want to die in the cold. And when you're cold, like we always say, two things happen. There are two things that somebody that's freezing cold, they just don't care about. At one time they may have, but when they're cold at the brink of death, there are two things they just won't care about. Number one is what they have to put on to stay warm. And number two is where they have to live to stay warm. Now, people that are cold, they do stuff to go to jail and prison, man. Right? People are willing to break in houses. They don't care where they have to stay. They'll sleep at an airport. They'll stay with a old relative they hate. They don't care. And they'll wear any damn thing, man. If it match, it don't match. You got one gray glove, one big glove, one mitten, one glove with the fingers out, big coat, small coat, one jacket, 5 socks. It don't matter, man. They just want to stay warm. And that's the mentality of our people, man. They don't care what they put on. They'll put on science. They'll put on Egyptology, man. You got Jake that still want to be an Egyptologist, a Nuwapian. You wear that garment and you'll dwell in the house of the wicked. All just not to be cold, man. Spiritually speaking. So, Jake, you got people celebrating New Year, and they're in their warmth and they're turning up, and it's the new year. I got a new this, new that. You're still cold, and you're still freezing because you're embracing the rock for want of shelter. Esau lives in the rocks. He lives in the mountains. You're cleaving to this man instead of cleaving to the Most High. That's what the Lord is saying. Your shelter should be Yahweh. He is your refuge, their hiding place. Your mother's house is where you should dwell at. That's your shelter, your mother's house. Not the rock, because you're cold. So this shows you that this is the spiritual wintertime. But when the Lord returns, it's going to be springtime. It'll be the new Abib, a spiritual Abib, with spiritual green corn, which is life of the elect, the 144,000 being raised out of the earth. Let's read it again. Song of Solomon 2:11. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of the singing of the birds has come, and the voice of the turtle, that's a turtle dove, is heard in our land. And that's a time of Israel rejoicing and celebrating and praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua for our deliverance in our own land. So that's the year that we want. Even when it's March, late March, early April, and the first month of the year and the first moon, 14 days or so before the Passover, that's not the new year that we really look forward to. We're looking forward to the futuristic, the prophetic new year, where the winter is past, man. Where there's no more Christianity, no more Islam, no more Nuwapianism, no more presidents, no more prime ministers, no more work, no more hell, man. No more Esau thinking to change the times and the seasons. We don't have to do breakdowns like this and go into it and teach our people the history, man, and go into the etymology of words. And we want the time of the spring. We long for the new year. So much so where we hate that our people say that 2024, the new year, be good to me. Treat me well. Right? Let's go to the book of Zechariah. The Most High said, in the days of the springtime, there will be no more utter destruction. Right? Let's go to Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 14. I believe that's chapter 14. The Most High said there will be no more. Let's see. Bear with me. I may have to get that precept. Right? The Most High said there will be no more utter destruction. Right? I may have read over it. So Salakia. Yeah, I've read right over it. All right, Zechariah chapter 14 and 11. Salakia. Right? It reads, and men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. So when's the springtime coming, man? That's all we want. We want the true new year, man. This is Esau's year. This is Esau's world, man. He loves the cold. I mean, look at these Edomites, man. They dwell and thrive in the wintertime, physically and spiritually, man. They're rich in this wintertime. They damn have mansions in the wintertime. They're eating the best food. They're eating damn Vienna sausages, man. Eggs and syrup sandwiches. And damn what's that? Kool-Aid, man. Jake, you got all these damn Negro dishes, man, that you laud and praise. Syrup sandwiches, sugar water. You think Esau's drinking sugar water? I've never met one Edomite that said, yeah, I had to, sugar water, syrup sandwiches, damn bologna and egg and Vienna sausages out of a can and all of this. And he's not living like that, man. Because the wintertime's good to him. Look at him when he walk outside. He got damn shorts on, sandals on. He breathes in that brisk, cold mountain air. I got this so-called job and I got this little spot, whatever. But I keep it warm in there, man. Right? I keep it warm in there. It be cold outside, man. So I turn the little temperature up to around, 78, 80 degrees. Every Edomite walking there, oh, it's hot. Oh my God, how do you do this? Oh, are you insane? It's burning up in here. Esau in there sweating. He in the damn top of his lip, wet as hell, trying, figuring out taking coats off. Just turn it back to 68. Keep it in my house 50. Let me walk into a Jake house and it's 50 degrees. I'm going to get carnal. Now, I may not get carnal really, but Jake, we don't dwell like that, man. 50, I like it 50 degrees. It's just like this this Sheetamite at the so-called job. I have to go there and I have to talk to her and say some things. And it was cold in her office, man. I walked in there and I just like it 50. And at home I have my dog and my dog lays up with me and so this is Esau's world, man. The so-called white man loves the wintertime. They go to these football games and they be having their shirts off with the big foam finger that say number 1. And I watch the game at home, man. I don't have to go out at the Ice Bowl. It's not that serious, man. Esau tailgate and it's 30 degrees. They up there, they freaking off. So he loves and prospers in the wintertime because darkness is prevalent. Let's read it one more time. Song of Solomon 2:11. For lo, the winter is past. The rain is over and gone, right? The cloud of rain over your head will be over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of the singing of birds has come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land. Let's see what else is going to happen in the springtime. The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grape give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. O my dove. This song is Solomon 2 and 14. O my dove. We are the dove, right? We are the sheep. We are the dove. A dove is a innocent bird, white, purity, holiness. So we are the dove of the Most High. O my dove, that art in the clefts of the rock. And we are in the clefts of the rock. We're not on the top of the rock. We're not the king of the hill. We're not calling the shots. We're not the guys. We're in the clefts of the rock. We're in the ghettos, the projects, the slums. We're the hidden ones. Like it tells you in Psalms 83. We're in the back of the neighborhood, on the other side of the railroad tracks, behind the mansions, behind the skyrisers, and the new condominiums. We're in those projects in the back, gated up, surrounded by the police, with helicopters that fly over. So the Lord said, O my dove, that art in the clefts of the rocks, and the secret places of the stairs. Let me see thy countenance. Let me hear thy voice. For sweet is thy voice, and thy countenance is comely. So the Lord wants us to come out of the world. That's come out of her, my people. Let me see thy voice. Let me hear you proclaim my name. Let me hear you call upon Yahweh. Let me hear you denounce the new year. Let me hear you repent. Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. Here's a precept. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh, Blasphemy Yahushai, hath remembered her iniquities. That's plain. The Most High hath remembered the iniquities of Babylon the Great. He wants to see your voice. He wants to see your face shine with the oil, right? Let's go to Psalms 104. Right? Psalms chapter 104. And a lot of people, even on a carnal level, they in the wintertime, they work out. They might start going to the gym in the wintertime because they want to show off their spring body or their summer body. That's what people say. Right? They take that time and they renew their gym membership and fix their diet. And because when it's spring and the summertime, they want to show that they've been strengthening themselves. And that's what the Most High wants you to do on a spiritual level. And this wintertime, you need to be strengthening yourself, building yourself up, because the days draw nigh, like we read, well, he want to see your face. He want to see you shine. He want to see that glow. And that time you spent laboring and growing in the knowledge of the Most High in this wintertime, putting on the right garment, leaving the shelter and dwelling in your mother's house, and growing up in the fear and knowledge of Yahweh Blasphemy Yahushai. Right? Psalms chapter 104 and verse 15. And wine that maketh glad the heart of man, and oil to make his face to shine, and bread which strengtheneth man's heart. See that? So wine maketh glad the heart of man, literally, but spiritually. Wine is the knowledge. It's going to make glad your heart once you know the truth. Once you understand who your enemy is. Once you know how to fear the Most High. The oil, which is the spirit, is going to make your face to shine. And bread, which is the word of God, is going to strengthen your mind. This is what the Most High wants you to be doing. Strengthening yourself, your heart, and causing your face to shine. So when it's time for deliverance, you can show up blameless with confidence at the return of the Lord. Right? Let's read it again. Song of Solomon 2 and 14. O my dove, that art in the clefts of the rock, and the secret places of the stairs. Let me see thy countenance. Let me hear thy voice. For sweet is thy voice, and thy countenance is comely. That's something that your husband would say. That's why a husband pulls back that veil, because he finally gets to see his bride smile. She might be crying. He might want to see her face. He want to see that beauty that he longs for in the wedding day. All right? Just like a husband, he tells you he wants you to come out. Now, he's waiting for you. at the wedding. He's waiting already at the altar, and he's waiting for the bride to come out. But here's something else that's going to happen at the new year, the true spiritual prophetic new year, and it's true springtime, right? Song of Solomon 2:15. Take us the foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. What does that mean? Take us the foxes, the little foxes. Let's see if we can get that in another translation. Does that mean we're going to take who are the foxes? Who are the little foxes? And what does it mean they spoil the vine and they spoil the grapes? Right? Let's get that in another translation. What it's saying is we're going to take the so-called white man and put him in slavery. He is the fox. So in the true springtime, we're going to be putting the so-called white man in captivity. In the true new year, the true parabolic new year. What is that? Song of Solomon 2 and let's go back to that. 2:15. All right. So Jake, you are geeked up for this new year right now. We're looking for the new year, the true one, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Right? Song of Solomon 2:15, right? Just to show you another parallel translations. All right, Song of Solomon 2:15. Right? Catch us, this in the NIV. Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruin the vineyards, our vineyards that are in bloom. Catch all the foxes. Catch the foxes. Take us the foxes. Catch the foxes for us. Right? Seize the foxes for us. In the Legacy Standard Bible. Right? So what are we going to do when we take the foxes and seize them? We're going to enslave them. We're going to enslave them. We will enslave every so-called white man. We are begging, Solomon is begging Yahushua to enslave the white race, the Edomites, in the true new year. They are known as the foxes. Did not Yahushua call Herod a fox? He said, go tell that fox, I'll do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected. Right? Luke chapter 13 and verse 31. Let's prove it. That the Edomites are known as the foxes. The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him, get thee out and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee. Now Herod was an Edomite, a descendant of Herod, a great descendant of Antipater the Idumean, right? So he's a so-called white man. And he said unto them, go ye and tell that fox, behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected. I mean, go tell that fox, man. Yeah, Yahushua called the so-called white man a fox, but yet I thought he loved everybody. I thought he so loved the world. I thought he so loved the human race, and his blood is on all man, and everybody would take a tiptoe and kiss the Yahushua's feet. And he said, go tell, basically, I'm not going to say it, but, he called him something, he called him an animal. Now, if you call somebody a female dog, that's another animal. So it's equivalent to calling them like a B word or something, man. That's really what he was saying. Called him a devil, a demon, a bitch, man. Straight up. So you didn't call anybody just a fox. That's a heavy insult, man. That's what they call in the world fighting words. So go tell that, Yahushua he was an austere man. He was a so-called black man. Remember, Herod tried to kill him. So-called white man tried to kill him, and then you have wicked Israelites that say you better leave because the so-called white man coming to kill you. He said, look, Yahushua's probably tight, man. He was hot. He said, go tell her I'm still here. He said, look, I cast out devils, and I do cures today. He said, I'm going to be here tomorrow too, man. He know where to find me. I do cures today and tomorrow, man. He know where I'm at. So you got to remember, Yahweh Shah is a so-called black man. Stop reading this out of context, man. I do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected. No, right? Don't let the old English fool you, man. He said the third day I shall be perfected. Man, he not running nothing. Herod not running nothing, man. This is of the Most High. It's not a damn thing you can do about it. Go tell that you know what, man. So Esau is called a fox, right? Let's go to Lamentations, the 5th chapter, right? It's Lamentations. Now, Lamentations speaks about the destruction of our people after the Babylonian Empire. But it's also twofold, right? This Lamentations chapter 5 and 18. Because of the mountain of Zion, which is desolate, the foxes walk upon it. So Esau is called a fox. Why? What are some of the characteristics of a fox? Well, a fox in ancient legends and fables and tales had the same characteristic of a serpent. It was sly, right? It was cunning. It was deceitful, right? A fox was it would do with trickery, and a fox came out at night. So Esau has the trait of a serpent, a fox, a dragon, a beast, a devil, a demon, and the foxes walk upon it. Who are the modern day foxes walking upon that land? All right, let's get the modern day foxes walking in the land. Zion is desolate because of the foxes that walk upon it. Right? Let's see if we can get that. What are traits of a fox? And let's just say mythology, right? In Celtic mythology, the fox is wise and cunning. Is that not the same thing in Genesis chapter 3 and 1? Now the serpent was more subtle above any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. So that's the same thing as the fox. Esau fits the fox. We fit the sheep. We fit the dove. We're innocent, pure, holy, lowly, humble. Esau is wise and cunning on the left-hand side. So in Celtic mythology, the fox is wise and cunning. A trickster, that's his sorcery, who knows the forest better than anyone else. And Esau knows the trees. He knows the Moabites. He knows the Edomites. He knows the Ishmaelites. He knows the Israelites. A forest is a group of trees, and men are the trees. Right? Let's prove that. Right? Let's prove that. Let's go to Ezekiel. All right, we brought it out on the Sabbath service. We'll bring it out again. Who's the forest? Ezekiel chapter 20 and verse 45. And he does know the forest, man. Remember, because he has scientists. He has archaeologists. He has people that dig up artifacts from every ancient civilization. He has books and libraries about the ancient Chinese, the ancient Japanese, the Egyptians, and the pharaohs, and the tombs, and the catacombs of Europe, and all of this understanding he has put into museums, into his mansions, into his books, given it to his professors. So he is the modern day fox who understands the forest better than anyone else. Right? Ezekiel 20 and 45. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face toward the south, and drop thy word toward the south, and prophesy against the forest of the south field. So the field is the world. That's in Matthew 13 and 38. The forest is a nation. And this is speaking about the Jews. We are the forest. And say to the forest of the south, hear the word of the Lord. Thus said the Lord God, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee, and it shall devour every green tree in thee, meaning every healthy man, every prosperous man, every rich man, and every dry tree. The dry tree is every poor man, every destitute man. The flaming flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south, to the north shall be burned therein. So the trees are men. So you have a group of trees, you have a forest. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 10. Get one more precept on a forest being a nation. Right? Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 17. And the light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his holy one for a flame. And it shall burn and devour his thorns and his briars in one day. And Esau is a forest that produces thorns and briars. So they produce things that hurt you, that kill you, that make you bleed and feel pain and sorrow. Those are the trees that he produces. Whereas we produce life, wisdom, and understanding. Right? So he has the thorns and the briars, right? Verse 18 in Isaiah chapter 10. And shall consume the glory of his forest and of his fruitful field, meaning his kingdoms, both soul and body. And they shall be as when a standard bearer fainteth. And the rest of the trees of his forest shall be few, that a child may write them. Meaning when the Most High is done taking down a so-called white man, there's going to be so few Edomites left that a child is going to be able to number them. That's what it means when it says right, meaning to count them. A child is going to be able to count how many Edomites are left on the earth. I don't know too many children that can count to 10,000, right? I don't know if they could get past, 1,000, right? So a child is going to be able to number how many Edomites are left on the earth. That's how many trees are going to be left in a forest. So let's go back to this. In Celtic mythology, the fox is wise and cunning. A trickster, and Esau's trickery is his philosophies, his politics, his science, his New Year's. He has tricked the people, man, who knows the forest better than anyone else. The fox symbolizes the need to think fast and strategically. Highly adaptable creatures, they also symbolize the need to adjust to new situations. So that's kind of what they represent. That's why in Lamentations, they're called the fox. That is why Yahweh Shah called Herod a fox. That is why in the new year, the prophetic new year, we're going to take the foxes captive. We're going to enslave the so-called white man. So how could this be the true new year, man? Now, the true new year, again, is the late March, early April. And a prophetic new year is taking a so-called white man in slavery. That is a sign of the new year. Take us to foxes, the little foxes that spoil the vines, for our vines have tender grapes. And what does it mean they spoil the vine? We are the vine, right? We are the vineyard of the Most High, right? Let's get that. Isaiah chapter 5, right? Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 1. I shall get straight to the point. Isaiah 5 and 7. For the vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel. So we are the vine. And the men of Judah, his pleasant plant. And he looked for judgment, but behold oppression. For righteousness, but behold a cry. We are the vineyard of Yahweh. Blasphemy. Let's get another one. We produce fruit. And a wine that comes of us is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? Here's another precept for the vineyard. Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 6. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but my own vineyard have I not kept. We broke this down plenty of times, right? When it says, look not upon me because I am black, speaking about our affliction and judgment because of the sun that shines at noonday. And when we're not under the shadow and shade of the Most High, like it's here in Psalms 121, we become black. Black is a color of sin and judgment. All right. My mother's children were angry with me. The mother's children are the other nations. They made me the keeper of the vineyard. So they made me build up their kingdoms. Right? Like Jacob built up Laban's kingdom. Like Israel built up the Egyptians' kingdom. Like America, we're building up Babylon's kingdom. We are the keepers of the vineyards. We work in the factories, the corporations, the warehouses, right? We were in the cotton fields, the sugarcane fields. We can build up every other nation and every other people, but what? But our own. My own vineyard have I not kept, right? So we have been in slavery due to our judgment. We're not building up our own people, all right? We don't have the time or the luxury or the resources and a willingness to restore Israel, but we can build up and restore these other nations, their vineyards, except our own vineyard. The foxes, they're robbing the vines. They're robbing us of our heritage. The foxes have robbed us of our nationality. I mean, look at Amalek. They have stolen our land. They have stolen our peace. They have stolen our pride. And knowing that we're the Most High's chosen people. And now they boast in being the Lord's chosen people. So that's why in the new springtime, when the winter is past, we will enslave every fox and throw them in the prisons and the cages where they belong. That's what you do with a fox. I mean, you take a fox, you take that damn stick with that thing on it, and you kind of jab them with it, kind of they moving around, and you put them in a cage, man. Like a pet patrol. I think that's animal patrol. Animal patrol. See, catch fox. See what we can find out of that. See that? So they take foxes because fox is always messing up a garden, man. How to catch a fox. We know how to catch a fox. We're going to have a sword in our hand for punishments upon the people. We're going to have that stick. We're going to be catching these damn foxes, man. You got people, oh no, don't hurt the fox. I thought God loved animals. I thought God loved the birds and the bees. No, again, the foxes rule at the night. And in true springtime, we're going to be enslaving them. That is a sign of the new year, the prophetic new year in the eyes of Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahusha. Now, with that being said, I had a few current events I wanted to touch on. Here's one of them, right? I had to touch on this. This is madness. Now, this is the so-called white man Space Force Lieutenant Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel. Look at this man. Now, this is who the so-called white man is going to trust to fight against Yahweh Shai. Kind of shifting gears. But this is still the so-called white man's wintertime. Look at this man. And he is the leader of the free world. He is the top man of the Space Force. There is no other top. There might be guys above him, but he's one of them. There are few men above this man that's going to have the orders to fight against Yahweh Shai. He is the Space Force Lieutenant Colonel. Right? So the so-called white man is finished, man. He is done. Let's pull him up. Let's pull this guy up, man. Space Force Colonel. Hold on. Let me make sure the sound is playing because this must. We got to play this. Right? Hold on. Let me get this sound working. This is madness. All right. Let's play this. All right. So we should be set. All right. Like I said, we had a few current events we wanted to touch on. I think his name is Bree Pham. That's his name. So let's play this guy. Listen to this madness.
So inclusion is a national security imperative. We fight today and we are going to fight in the future.
This is madness. I mean, how can you not tell that this place is done? What more do you have to see? What more do you have to see to know that America's done? Does the handwriting have to be on the wall? Like in Belshazzar and Daniel 5, where the Lord wrote, many, many tickle you farson? We don't need that. The handwriting is already on the wall. And those are the signs. And the interpretation is from the prophets. This is a sign of straight out what is the word I'm looking for? Degeneracy, man. Decadence. Madness. Look at Eve.
So inclusion is a national
He's probably, hopefully, looking at this guy like, what the hell is going on?
So inclusion is a national security imperative. We fight today, and we are going to fight in the future using brain power. And if that brain, who's going to revolutionize the way we fight.
This is hypocrisy. This is hypocrisy. So you want to fight using brain power, but your brain, your mind is bad. This is not the days of old. This is not your D-Day Edomites, your World War II Edomites, your World War I, your Saving Private Ryan Edomites, your George Washington, right? Your Alexander Hamilton, right? These aren't those. Your Napoleons. They just had the movie Napoleon. Your Alexander the Greek. Well, he's kind of Alexander the Greek, but these guys are finished, man. They are finished. Let me get this precept. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen because they're going to make me change it and do all types of madness. But let's get this in the book of Nahum. Right? Let's go to the book of Nahum because this is absolute just decadence. Right? This Nahum chapter 3 and verse 13. Right? Nahum 3 and 13. This is the Most High getting on America, but they're called Assyria. For many reasons, right? But here's the point. Nahum 3 and 13. Behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thine enemies. The fire shall devour thy bars. So what is the Most High saying? Pretty much, I'm going to read it again. What is the Most High saying when your kingdom is like a woman that's set wide open, right? That's what the Most High is saying. Meaning you effed, man. You're done. You're finished. That's what the Most High is saying. It says, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open. America is likened unto a woman that's wide open, just ready to receive missiles, destruction, famine, degeneracy, wickedness, judgment. And he is one of those women, man. Right? He's one of those women. One of those weak men of the kingdom, man. Right? One of those weak men of the kingdom. This is Jeremiah, another precept. Jeremiah chapter 51 and 30. Jeremiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. You can't get around that. How could that not be talking about today's life in Babylon? Let's read it again. Jeremiah 51 and 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. And nobody really wants to join the army. How many people are lining up to join the Space Force? Where's the lines at these different recruitment places, man? Are people with the patriotic mindset and a nationalist mindset to join America to fight against Yemen, the Houthis, Iran, Russia, China, and all these global powers? Nobody wants to join the army anymore. There's no honor in that. This isn't the 1920s anymore, 1940s. People are embarrassed to say that they were in the army, that they're veterans. They whisper those things now and talk amongst them in secret. Whereas there used to be a thing of pride and honor to be a veteran of the American army. So the Most High said that these men, when the days of trouble come, they are going to forborne to fight. They're going to be apprehensive to take up arms and fight against America's enemies. Let's read on. What else? They have remained in their holds. Their might hath failed. This guy is a definition, or this woman, this freak, creep, pedophile, child molester, rapist, confused man is a clear example of their might have failed in Jeremiah 51:30. They became as women, and he literally became as a woman. They have burned her dwelling places, her bars are broken. Right. So this place is over. It is over, man. Over. You're a lieutenant in a space force. Play it one more time.
Brain power. We fight today, and we are going to fight in the future using brain power.
And that sounds like something a sodomite would say. We're going to fight in the future, and we're going to use, but get out of here with that, man. We're going to use our brain power. The Lord is not dealing with that, man. All right, everybody get together. Let's use our brain power. And we're going to fight in the future against the enemies of the world. No! You think these Iranians are sitting there talking about, okay, guys, let's get our brain power. No, they're chanting death to America, death to America, death to the great Satan, death to America. They blowing themselves up. And Esau, okay, we're gonna get together. Everybody come together. And let's just use our brain power, and we're gonna fight against the enemies, right? And that's why America is going to be destroyed, man. It's a shadow of his former self, right? Just listen to this man's voice, man.
So
a skirt on with look at all of the medals he has. So he's not a nobody, evidently. Maybe this guy used to be somebody, man. He's not just a regular fly on a guy, recruit. This guy's a somebody in the army. He has all types of medals. I don't know what they mean, accolades, but he must be a big deal. Maybe there's more to him. Maybe there's more to it than what he looks like, man. Maybe this guy, he's a killer. All right, he killed with his bare hands. He's a top assassin, right?
Inclusion is a national security imperative. We fight today, and we are going to fight in the future using brain power. And if that brain, who's going to revolutionize the way we fight in space, we fight in cyber, just happens to be in a trans body,
what?
You should want them all serving alongside me. Be in a trans body. Revolutionize the way we fight in space, we fight in cyber, just happens to be in a trans body. You should want them all serving alongside me. And for your organizations, it's the same way. Those perspectives that we get from a diverse set of individuals, it's been talked about on stage a lot regarding the science behind high-performing teams. We need those perspectives. But it's inclusion that actually drives that. Because you can bring people in, and if they don't feel safe,
So this guy's over, man. Babylon is finished, right? He's worried about inclusion of transformers. That's what he's worried about. Salakia. Let me get out of that. That's what he's worried about, man. He's worried about inclusion of transformers. Right? Let me see what else I can pull up. There's something else I had. Right? I'm kind of pressed for time. Right? So that's Esau's Space Force. That's his Space Force. And there's nothing that he's going to be able to do. You think a man like that is going to lead an army to fight against Michael the Archangel? The Mosai said that there was war in heaven. Let me get that. In Revelation chapter 12. Right? The Lord said, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. Revelation chapter 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. That war is not the war between Satan with a pitchfork and a white man, Jesus Christ, on a white horse, and they clash swords. No. That war in heaven is going to be in the firmament. Fighter jets, F-32s, helicopters, bombers, UAPs. It's like your what is that? Esau, his drones, man. He has an acronym for them, but his drones. All of his vehicles are going to be fighting against Yahushua and the chariots and Michael. That's what this means. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought in his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven, meaning their rulership. their power structure, their empire, their imperialism, their global dominance is going to come to an end at the return of Hamashiach Yahushua, right? And that's their space force. And again, their space force is supposed to be the top. Look at this. Enlist now. Become a guardian. Right? Space Force is a military branch of a nation's armed forces that conducts military operations in outer space. And they're not going outer space. And space welfare. The most they could do is try to set up something in the firmament. Right? So, this is madness, man. The Space Force. And that's one of the top colonels. One of the top colonels is a transformer. And they got Jake in there, man. Jake is in the Space Force. Right? Jake is in the Space Force. They got uniform updates. And people, some people are really into this thing, man. Right? Some people are really into this thing. Hold on, let me go back. So that person in the Space Force was like a top person. They was a lieutenant. Right? So they I don't know if they was above this, but Esau's top man is his chief master sergeant of the Space Force. He's the one that's going to say, go attack Yahushua. Right? Go lead and attack that the chariots. That Independence Day deal right there. So you got that going on. You got war going on with Yemen and the Red Sea. So Jake, keep watching that. Israel, keep watch of war going on in the Red Sea between Yemen and now they're saying England and America are about to get involved. So keep watching that, right? Keep watch of what's going on the earth, right? Another thing going on the earth. Burundi president calls for the public execution of sodomites. So these nations, they're coming off that hangover. And now you got nations, they're doing public executions of sodomites and child rapists. So a lot of the world, they're coming back to getting their mind right. And that's the law. Leviticus 20:13. Let's get that real quick. So they want to publicly execute as they should, man. Leviticus 20:13. If a man also lie with mankind, as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination, they shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. So the penalty is already death. So he's trying to keep the law. He might be a Jake, So he wants to do a public execution. Look, he called it an abominable practice. Where did he get that from? From the Bible. Look, he said, meanwhile, Burundians living outside the country who have chosen the devil, he said they should not come back. So they're not playing around, man. A lot of these countries, they're not playing around no more with Babylon the Great. They're not taking it no more. All that you got to be this. If you're not a sodomite, you can't do trade. We're going to put tariffs on you and embargoes and sanctions on you. They say, hey, we don't give a damn. If you a sodomite, you better not come back. If we come back, we're going to kill you. So the world is waking up. The world is kind of, a lot of these nations, they waking up off of the wine of Babylon. The Lord said the nations have drunk. Therefore, the nations are mad, man. Right? Let's go to Habakkuk. The Lord says, shall not they awake? It's Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 7. It reads, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. So these nations are rising up, and they want to bite America, aim their missiles and destroy them. And they're going to awake out of that slumber and that drunken intoxication. And they're going to reinforce laws of old and say, hey, look, If we see you being a sodomite, we're going to kill you, man. Right? So a Burundi, that might be a place, man. You got a lot of Jakes doing that. And then in Yemen, I also saw there in Yemen, they have public execution for child rapists. Right? So if you go to Yemen and you get caught raping a child, they'll kill you on spot. So a lot of these nations, they're not playing around, man. They're not messing around with that lieutenant guy who wants to use brain power. They have his brains on the floor, man, by the power of the gun, right, and the rifle, and they'll do it in front of everybody, right? So a lot of these laws and commandments we're gonna have to reinforce in the kingdom. A lot of these nations kind of coming back to it, man. So we have to constantly keep watch about what the Most High is doing on the earth. World War III, famine, economic collapse, Babylon the Great trying to entice this civil war with the ballots and the presidency and the destruction on the earth. Keep watch. Let's go to Luke chapter 21. All right. This is Luke chapter 21 and 34. Right? Luke 21 and 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. So don't get caught up in this thing, man. Don't get caught up in the glitz and the glamour. Don't start worshiping your job and hours at your job and taking on all these excess hobbies and pastimes and reminiscing of the world and forgetting that the Most High is about to destroy this place, man. Every day is a day closer to our deliverance. Every day is a day closer to Yahweh Shah returning. And you have to be warned and constantly reminded that you can't do things in excess. That's what surfeiting is. Surfeiting is doing things in abundance. So, right, the Lord said, use the word and don't abuse it. And you go to your so-called job and you get your money, right? You take care of your bills, you pay your rent, and you may pay your mortgage. And if your car breaks down and you fix your car, you need a new bed, you get a new bed, and you buy your groceries, you do what you got to do, and you keep it moving, man. You don't get caught up in this thing. I gotta have this. I want to have this. I'm gonna work more hours to get this, and I don't really need to read right now because I want to go on vacation and do this. And oh, I want to pick up this job. Now I'm working 3 jobs, and I don't really need to fast because so you start getting caught up in this man's world, man, and you're gonna be spewed out by Yahweh Bashmi Shah. So you got to constantly check your spirit and say, hold on, am I giving myself too much to this world? Am I reading like I need to? Am I praying? Am I on my phone too much? I'm just scrolling on Instagram, then I hop on Twitter, then I'm on Facebook, then I'm on TikTok, right? I just don't do the things that I need to be doing. That's called surfeiting. The Lord said, take heed to yourself and examine yourself. Check your spirit, man, before it's too late. Lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness, meaning the wine of this world, and the cares of this life. So the cares of this life are vain. Your true care should be of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushai, man. We're looking for this place to go down yesterday, man. Right? At any given minute, a bomb could drop in another nation. Nuclear war could start. It could be an EMP attack. Right? They could shut the internet down. It could be a false flag any minute. And some people, they're going to be too caught up in the world. Then they go, oh, I got to hurry up and get right. Ain't no woulda, shoulda, couldas, man. Like we always say. The Lord said in Daniel 7 and 10, the judgment was set and the books were open. Once that judgment is set, it is what it is, man. So be mindful of how you live in this life. Use the world, but don't abuse it. And so that they come upon you unawares. Luke 21 and 35. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, not just once a day, not just when you feel like it. A lot of people, I'm too lazy. I don't want to get down and pray, and I'll do it later. Let me check my phone first, and I'll do it after this. And hey, man, we don't have time for that, man. It's crunch time. It's fourth quarter, right? Watch ye therefore. Keep watching your spirit. Keep watching your mind. See what you're intaking, entertaining. how much time you're given to certain things. Watch the prophecies. Make sure you're cognizant of what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is doing on earth. Watch ye therefore and pray always. The Lord said in Luke 18:1 on down, men ought always to pray and not faint. If you stop praying, you're going to be disconnected from the spirit, and the presence of your God is going to leave you. Right? You have to stay charged up. Keep your spirit on the charger, which is you praying and fasting to the Most High. Okay, and for the Most High. And pray always that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. So everything that was listed earlier in this chapter, it's what's going to come to pass. You want to pray not for money, a new job all the time, a new car. You don't want to have a materialistic mindset when it comes to your prayers. Doesn't mean you can't pray for certain things, right? If you need them, if they're a necessity, but your prayers should be included in your prayers rather as well. Add this to your prayers that you're accounted worthy to escape all the things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man. So with that, I'm going to close up, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yabushai. Another Monday Night Fire. Most High willing you was edified. Kwam Yasha. Shalom.